The honeymoon glow fades really, really fast when life just comes at you and throws whatever it is. It came at me with morning sickness, a whirlwind of emotions, and a pregnancy just 6 months into the marriage. So I had a real situation to kind of deal with when I first got married. And as I said, we went over to friends' houses and in the military. And up until the first 6 months, it was fine. It was great. We went somewhere almost every night. As I said, him being in service, and that's how they do in service, is they gather together in somebody's house. And we had rented a nice little trailer, and things were okay. Even though, as I told you, I came in, we both came into the marriage with a lot of problems, both of us. We both came from dysfunctional families that did not teach either one of us how to be a wife or a husband. And back in that time, you got to remember, this was at a time when things were just not discussed. I did not have a sit down and the birds and the bees talk with my mother about pregnancy and all of this. We didn't know, even had an inkling about protection and how to not get pregnant. Because back then, that's what you did. You got married and had kids. So within 6 months of me getting married, I ended up pregnant, and I'm telling you, the morning sickness was absolutely horrific. It was 24 hours a day, round the clock. Now here is the bummer. I went to work in a credit union. And the credit union happened to have been on the base, Robins Air Force Base, in the cafeteria where the airmen came and ate meals around the clock. It never closed. It never stopped cooking. It never stopped serving food. And I'm telling you right now, I would walk into that credit union and the smell would just absolutely floor me. I mean, it took everything that I could manage to get through the day, the whole day, even at home, because of the sickness. And I'd go into the bathroom, and another thing that I had along with the sickness is that I just wanted to sleep. My body was just depleted because I couldn't keep anything on my stomach. So my body was in really not that great a shape. And I was sick for 7 long months. So getting married, starting off life with a husband that later on I realized was definitely an alcoholic, because that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to drink. He drank all the time. At home, away, wherever we went, there was beer, alcohol. And he constantly walked around with one. But I did not have access to the internet. I did not have access to information. And I had no idea the symptoms. And even if I had, it wouldn't have mattered. I would have stayed with him because I loved him. I loved him with all my heart. And as I told you in the earlier chapter, I said, in the end, I think I was really addicted to him as well as other addictions that I had later on. So the first 6 months was okay. But then once that I got pregnant, and going through the 7 to 9 months of pregnancy, it was absolutely horrible for me. It just took everything out of me. And I had really no support. I did not. And once again, my mother and I, we did not have a relationship where she would bring me food or how are you or whatever is going on. I did not have that support. Actually, I didn't have anyone. So I go through the pregnancy and I go into labor. Well, of course, I had my daughter Sharon in the base hospital. So my husband took me over to the hospital. I don't remember very much about that hospital stay at all, because I think I almost died, to be honest with you, because I went in, don't remember going in. And once again, as I said, my body was in such bad shape that it's a wonder I even had a healthy baby, because I didn't eat anything. So I go to the hospital, And I remember our neighbor down the way that I used to babysit for, she was a nurse, and she came over to the base to see me, to see how I was doing. And she walked in and looked at me, and she went back out and got the doctor and said, "What is going on with her?" Because they had given me an epidural when I went into the hospital, which deadens you from the waist down. I had Sharon, but I didn't see her. They didn't bring her to me. They brought her once, and I remember I was laying there in the bed, and all of a sudden I looked down, and my whole, from the waist down, was covered in blood. And then I remember I tried to sit on the side of the bed, and I passed out and fell on the floor, busted my head wide open. And so that was the pregnancy and the hospital visit that I endured with having my first child, which, trust me, is traumatic. And then I go home with a newborn, and thank goodness my aunt, who I babysat her for her 3 kids when they were little, because I was a teenager, and they'd go on fishing trips and take me, and I'd watch the kids while they'd go fishing. And she came up and spent the week with me, and thank goodness that she did, because I don't know that I would have been able to have managed. My husband was absolutely of no use whatsoever. I don't know that he ever changed a diaper. I don't know that he ever fed one of the children. He did not cook. He was an absentee husband mentally. I want to say mentally, because physically he was there, but he had no idea either what to do. Neither one of us did. So here you've got 2 people that are just 2 people together with a baby, and didn't have much of an idea of what to do. And also, pregnancy and a baby changes a woman dramatically. They're not the same. Their needs are now put second best to that child's. So I had a baby. Thank goodness she was a really good baby. Sharon was a wonderful baby, happy baby, and a beautiful baby. She was absolutely gorgeous. And it was just her birthday yesterday, and it was a very hard day for me, because my children are no longer on this planet, and so their birthdays and the day that they left this earth is extremely hard. So I kind of go into hibernation, and I went into hibernation yesterday, and I just reminisced and cried and laughed and spent the day with my daughter in my memories. And so that's what I do when the time comes around. And I'm okay today now. I'm back to normal, because life has to go on, and I can't sit and wallow all the time. So back to my story. Here I have a baby, but that changes a person. And I could not pick up. I remember I came home from the hospital, and the first night I came home, my husband wanted to go to the drive-in movie. Well, we had, back then you did not have all these car seats and bassinets and carrying cases and all the stuff that people have today that you see them dragging around. We had a little canvas, like a bed, and it folded up. It had the legs folded up, but you opened it up, and it was like a little canvas. Well, I put a pillow in there, put it in the back seat of our car, and put my daughter in it, and we went to the drive-in movie. I don't remember what we saw, but we went to the drive-in. And that's what my husband thought that we would still be able to continue to do, is go and sit while he played pinochle all night. And things change. Things change. I did go some, but I was not able to certainly go with a newborn like we had been doing the first 6 months before I got pregnant. So all of the relationship itself changed. And I think, believe it or not, I got worse. I really did, because I was alone, totally alone. I think I remember my mother coming and visiting me twice when my daughter was born. And I had no help. I had no idea what to do for a baby. And as I said, thank goodness, she was healthy, she was good, she was happy. And so I was blessed in that respect. Both of my children were, believe it or not. So I didn't have a colicky or a baby that cried all the time. But I myself was a real mess. I did not have any idea how to go about being a parent. Bottom line, I didn't know how to be a parent. I really didn't. I didn't want to be a parent. That's the sad part. I did not want to be a parent. I was angry about it. I was angry when I got pregnant. And that's not the way that you're supposed to be when you have your first child. You're supposed to be happy. However, I'm sure a lot of women in their lifetimes went through the same thing as me. And all because, and I always say that it's from ignorance. I was ignorant to what to do, how to do it. I didn't have the encouragement. I didn't have the nurturing. I didn't have someone there to say to me, you're going to be fine. Don't you worry about it. I'm here with you, a mother like that. And my aunts were at a distance. And I don't know that they'd have been much help. Friends, they didn't know any more than I did. So it was, once again, and I found this out in my lifetime, when you walk a path, the majority of the time you walk it alone. You really do. You have to learn on your own how to do things. And this was a time that was a huge, huge learning lesson in my life. And how I made it through it, I don't know. The only thing I can tell you is you don't have a choice. You put in your days. You do not have a choice. I remember I was a terrible cook. And one time I baked a cake. I'll never forget, it was a strawberry cake, strawberry icing. It was a layer cake, and I fixed my 3 little layers. Now, at this time, we were living in a basement apartment of my next door neighbor's sister, who'd I known all my life, the Hartmans. And she rented us her basement apartment because it was bigger than the trailer. Now it was on a slant. You got to understand, it was like on a hill, so the apartment was like on a slant. The stove was kind of lopsided. Okay, I bring my pans out with my cakes in them, and one side was this thick, and the other side was about this thick. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, how am I going to make this thing work? Well, I finally figured it out that you put the big slice here and then the little slice and then the big slice and the little slice. So I stacked it up where it was perfectly even, and I put my strawberry icing on it. And it looked really pretty. I thought, this is going to be really, really nice. So I sit it on the table, and I was waiting on my husband to get home from work. I was cooking dinner, and I turned around and I looked, and my cake had slidden off the table onto the floor. Oh my gosh, I was so upset. It was terrible because of the slant of the apartment, the cake that was not in any kind of shape, fashion, or form level on any means, and it just slid off. So these are some of the tales that I have to tell about life and learning and all of the stuff that you go through. Once again, my mother was a great cook. She cooked everything from scratch, but she always cooked. She never brought me in the kitchen and said, here, this is how you do it. That's how you do it. I literally had to learn pretty much on my own how to cook. And I did. I ended up being a pretty good cook as far as Southern foods go. I could fry chicken, make mashed potatoes, cook beans, all that kind of good stuff. Cornbread. I'm good at cornbread. So yeah, all of this was a learning experience, as life is. That's all that life is learning and choices that you make. And so I was able to get through that time, even though I was not happy. I really was not happy. But I focused on Sharon and taking good care of her. And then the other part with my husband, I just had to deal with it because I couldn't change him, I couldn't control him. And he was always, pretty much always gone. And that's, unfortunately, that's the way it was. And looking back, those first months in that year and then having my children taught me that life doesn't wait for you to be ready. It just hands you the next chapter, whether you think you can handle it or not. And little did I know the real lessons were just beginning. So now I want y'all to join me in chapter 10 as my story unfolds even further. And it certainly gets much, much more interesting as time goes on. And as I said, I'm sure some of you will cry a little, laugh a little, relate a little, and I hope that you do. So once again, as I said, come back, chapter 10, next Thursday at 1 o'clock only on my YouTube channel. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button now and come back. And also, I'm heading out to Cozumel, Mexico on June the 29th. And I would love for y'all to come and visit Cozumel with me, because it'll all be on my YouTube channel too. I love y'all. Bye-bye.